let's talk about good old Michael Myers. But like the less scary of the two.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Oh.
Welcome back to Halloween in the Middle, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends is the penultimate movie in the Halloween sequel trilogy, pitting Laurie Strode against Michael Myers one final time, winner take all. It stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Andi Matichak, James Jude Courtney, and Rohan Campbell. So, Halloween Ends is currently sitting at a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is surprising to me for a couple of reasons. The first being that the first two are actually pretty good in this new trilogy. The other one being, when I walked out of the theater, I actually really liked it. And then I found out no one else did. That seemed to be a pattern. I went to see this last Saturday, and it was like all day I kept discovering things I really liked. And when I went to show them to people, they were like, oh, this kind of sucks, or it's fine. And I was like, well, that's a bummer. Like, even a new song I discovered I liked, and everyone was like, I think it's fine. It sucked. Anyway, have you heard World's Smallest Violin by AJ? So yes, I think I definitely did have a different experience watching this movie than a couple of other people. I will put out there from the beginning, I have only ever seen the original Halloween and this trilogy. I have also seen Halloween 3, but it's very disconnected, and I kind of hated that one. But I've seen the original and these three that have come out in the last couple of years, so I'm not like a gigantic Halloween fan. I have been of the mind that I will go see a Halloween movie, like in the Halloween series, every year, purely because it just gets me in the Halloween spirit, not necessarily because I think the movies are incredible by any means. Personally, I don't think the first one is actually that great. I just think it's iconic and did a lot of good stuff for the horror genre. But I actually think that this last trilogy has been really good so far. And I did like this new one, but let's talk about it. First of all, Jamie Lee Curtis. Friggin' awesome. I want to adopt her as a third grandmother. She is badass, amazing, comforting. I love her in this movie. I love her in this entire trilogy. Honestly, when she was Laurie Strode in the originals, like I said, I've really only seen the first with her in it, but she was just kind of like one of the first final girls. And she didn't have a whole lot of personality aside from that. She was just kind of trying to defend herself and not die, even though she was still pretty cool. So I like that in the new trilogy, they gave her more of a personality of like, she's got this paranoia and like she's ready to fight this entire time. She's got traps. She's like ready to go. She is badass. And I love that. I love that this has been plaguing her for 40 years. And it's culminated in this final fight. And I think that's just really cool. She was awesome. But also I do like that in the movie they try to give her another side as well this time from just this trilogy of she's trying to move on. She's never fully done that. And this one, she's trying, which obviously is not going to work out. I think the next most telling thing about this movie that I really loved is it is dark. And I don't mean like violent. Like the last one, Halloween Kills, was violent. This one is dark. Because in the last one, there were a ton of kills. But those kills, a lot of them were just like, we're just killing a bunch of people, not for no reason, but because Michael is a freaking behemoth of a person. In this one, the kills mean something. Every time somebody dies, it is bad because it implies so much about theme and character. And so not only you're like, whoa, was that gory, but also like, whoa, this is getting deep. This movie is a lot deeper than I think a lot of people are going to focus on, and I'll get to that in a second. But the kills themselves not only were just very dark, but yeah, they were pretty shocking. This had by far the most shocking opening I've seen of a Halloween movie, and definitely rivals a lot of these other slasher movies in terms of their beginnings. I think Scream definitely is the more iconic, but this one was very shocking and very scary. Okay, now I'm going to get into the stuff that's just going to bleed right into the middles and into the lows. Because I do think that this is partly a high, is they kind of go in a fresh take with it. It's like this new take. And I personally liked it. A lot of other people aren't going to like it, but what I liked about it is not only was it new, but it was very character related. It was very character based. And I think that this was really fresh, not only to have just something other than Michael coming through and killing people one by one for the entire movie, which is basically every Halloween movie. Even though that's what we want to see, it was nice to have this new twist on these characters and on the themes, because it's not just him doing that. It is actually like other things going on that are still related to him, but because of him, if that makes sense. Now, most people are going to hate this. And honestly, when I first saw it, I wanted to do this review immediately because I was on such a high. I thought it was awesome. After talking to some people and after having some time to sit back, I have realized that there are some issues with it. There is actually a lot of issues. But the thing is it really comes down to this. You are either going to really like this or at least just be okay with it, or you're going to hate it. And the best visual I can give for you is that this chunk is an entirely new plot that I thought was really good, but it's like they took that and they took a door hinge and like hinged it onto what we thought this movie was going to be mostly and what it really should be, which is Laurie versus Michael. And they kind of just like hinged it on and kind of tried to tie it in thematically, which I think works to an extent, but there are issues with it. One of them being that I don't think it necessarily has as much of an impact as it should have, because something with this plot does just kind of stop at a certain point in the movie. And I think that, considering it was supposed to be like this bigger thematic thing, I definitely think that it shouldn't have ended exactly that way. However, what I did like about it was this. Like I said, I'm not a huge Halloween fan. I have not seen most of the movies, and I don't have as many stakes in these movies. What I go to see them for is the fun Halloween vibe and the kills and all of that, like we all do. But mostly, I've just never thought that Michael as a villain was that interesting. What this movie did for me was give me at least a little bit more depth and insight into why I should take Michael more seriously. Now, I'm not kidding. It really did. Because there are two sides to Michael. There is the physical, brute side of somebody who is just pure evil and cannot die. And then there is the idea of Michael, which plagues this town for years and years, because you never know where he is, when he's going to kill. It's like paranoia all over the place. That idea was prevalent in this movie. Not so much of the physical Michael, which I will get to in just a second, but the concept of the idea of Michael and what he's done to the town. And I don't want to really get too much into it because I'll ruin some things, but basically just that concept is entirely most of this movie. And I really liked it. It is not something I expected from this story, but actually I really liked it because it just gave it more gravity, I guess, and it gave it more depth in terms of, when he's here, yeah, he's here and it's scary. But when he's not here, there's still a bunch of shit that he's had, like all these repercussions on this town and on these people. And that's even scarier. Another part of this that's a middle, before I get into the lows, that isn't that big of a deal, but Allison's character is roped into this plot in a very big way. And I think it was good because there obviously something that happens at the end of Halloween Kills, which if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but it's a very big thing. And it puts kind of a strain on Allison and Laurie's relationship a little bit. And so they've used this plot to play into that and kind of see how she's feeling with all of this and with all of the Halloween stuff that's been going on in the last couple movies. But I feel like it happened a little quick. That because they were trying to get into this plot and introduce this entirely new thing, and it's like they threw her into it, and it happened so quickly. I was like, I feel like it wasn't that believable that she would get into this so quickly. But it's not really that much of a thing. It's a middle element because it wasn't too bad. So for the biggest low, I've already kind of hinted at this, but the new plot that I do like is 90% of this movie. And it really sucks because there's a lot of good shit in this plot. There's a lot of good stuff that comes out of it, even though it is a little bit slower and it is very character revolved. Unfortunately, that means that what we actually came here to see, Laurie versus Michael, is, and I'm going to tell you so that you're not disappointed, when you watch it, it is roughly about 10 minutes of the movie. I'm not even exaggerating. It is roughly 5 to 10 minutes, which sucks the more I thought about it. I thought the trailer wasn't showing much because they didn't want to show much. Turns out they were just showing kind of what they had. Now, I will say, the stuff between Laurie and Michael is awesome. The moment that it starts, you're like, oh god, here we go. She is ready. She's going to hold her own. She is badass. I am here for it. And the fight was awesome. It just sucks that there wasn't more of it. I'm not expecting it to be the whole movie. That would also be a little boring. But, I expected it to be more than that. And something else that goes along with the ending that I'm going to have to be incredibly vague about is just that how it ends presented some opportunity for questions that I had about how this one ended in comparison to how other Halloween movies have ended. That's all I can say on that. There is something that will be a little conflicting for people. Lastly, and this has kind of already been brought up, I think, but I feel like for this new plot, they did kind of sacrifice some of our characters that we've been with throughout this trilogy for another character, and it was a very important character. But I wanted more of the characters we've already been with and to see how they were reacting to this final movie, this final confrontation with Michael and what was going to happen. So, overall, when I came down from the high of this movie, I definitely saw its holes. And honestly, I don't even think it's messy. I think it literally is just, here's the movie. You're going to like this or you're not. You either take this out and put something else in and then the movie's great, or you keep it in there and it kind of feels a little bit jarring, even though both are pretty good, if that makes sense. So I think I liked it more than most, a lot of the most, but I can 100% see where some people would hate this movie. Most people would hate this movie. It is not what we were marketed to have. It is kind of a slap in the face to all the Halloween fans, especially the ones who have been here from the beginning, but also the ones who were here for this trilogy. I thought it was good just as its own movie. Following up from the other two movies, not so much, but just as its own movie, I thought it was great. And it is really sad that this is the last time we're going to get to see Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. She's super sad about it, but stuff has to end sometime. I'm going to give Halloween Ends a 3 out of 4. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of Halloween Ends without spoilers, obviously. Just let me know generally, did you appreciate it or did you absolutely hate it? I will validate both are going to be very true for a lot of people. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and make sure to always be looking behind you, because you never know.